Okay, we're going to follow up with the second question here. This is just for the presidential candidates, and we'll be starting with Mr. Miskimmons. How do you keep up to date with student issues on campus, and what are some ways you gauge students' opinions about those issues? And this came to us from Christine Galt, the Craytonian Editor-in-Chief.
Another fantastic question, and engaging the students. I read the Craytonian much like I think most of the student body does, and the relationship between CSU and the Craytonian is nothing to be desired, and that relationship must improve. And so under Miskimmons administration, there would be meetings held with us Craytonian editors to make sure that, again, holding each other accountable for the stories that they're reporting to, so that they know what CSU is working on and we know what the stories around campus are going to be. And I feel like we put the Craytonian under fire as CSU, and they are always keeping us on our toes as well. And so really developing the relationship between the executive boards on the Craytonian, so that we can have a cohesive voice or a system for ideas to flow through to both from CSU to the Craytonian to get it out to the students, and from the students to receive, or for CSU execs to read the Craytonian and get student input as well.
Thank you. Mr. Hare?
In response to this question, I think my first point would be that, like Dylan said, the Craytonian and the CSU relationship needs to improve. I don't think that bickering between the two organizations will help us help people at all. It doesn't go very far in making your student experience better. I want to stop that right now, and if I were president, I think the first thing I would do is increase transparency, like we've been trying to say all along, and make the Craytonian be an avenue that CSU can get ourselves out there to campus. We'll use the Craytonian. We won't hide information from them. If we have something to say, I'll send them an email, I'll sit down in regular meetings, that sort of thing. Another thing we can do to help gauge what the students want on campus is to actively seek out that voice. If you saw me yesterday, I was on the mall from 8 o'clock to 3:30, handing out suckers. Between that, I had a couple of meetings, but I was out there all day. That sort of doing and not just talking about it is the example that I want to set for our representative body and for the rest of CSU, and I want to use that dedication that I have to go out there, figure out what you, the student, want, bring it back, and let's make it happen. We're too tied up in making ourselves seem too important. We need to be more focused on helping you, engaging what you have to say, getting the representatives out there to benefit what you, the students, want. You're the ones who pay us. You're the ones who pay into our budget. You're the ones who make it happen. We need to work for you better.
Thank you, Mr. Hare. And we'll move on with a question from me. Although we each have our specific areas of expertise, a CSU executive is obliged to contribute and have a knowledge base in each of the positions. How do you see yourself supporting the areas of finance, programming, student affairs, and the presidency? This is for all candidates, and we'll begin with Mr. Anshin.
Well, you know, I guess that's really an interesting question, especially from the perspective of before, maybe 2 months ago, I would have thought about running for a different position, maybe president, maybe VP of finance, and I think it took a lot of time for me in identifying what I wanted to do within CSU and what my strengths were and what each position actually is defined as. And so as I did that, I think I found out that this is the best place for me, and that running for VP of Student Affairs is what I'm most interested in and what I have the most experience in. So I think that the position of the president is, of course, meeting with the administration, and I'll come back to that, I guess, in a little bit, and I want to actually jump to the VP of Finance. I think that the VP of Finance is a very important position. When I think of the role of CSU, a lot of it honestly deals with your money, the student fee that we are allocated. And so I think a big part of this is determining how that money is spent, and that we're putting it back in your hands and we're not rolling over the money continually. I think that's something that we can work on. I think the president then at the same time is kind of combining all of the different schools and colleges together with their senators and with their different leaders in the cabinet, and it's discussing different things that they see that are issues, and seeing how we can best use our funds to support different events and organizations, and at the same time doing what's best for you. So.
Thank you. Mr. Rich?
I think with this question, it really comes down to two of my main points that I've had throughout this campaign so far, and that we need to overall be a more responsive organization, and we need to be a more transparent organization. And to speak to specifics within this, when it comes to the VP of Finance, the VP of Finance's main job, as you can tell by its name, is to deal with the money of CSU, and more so the allocation of funds throughout CSU and throughout the university as a whole. We need to make sure that we better open up our hearings for financial funding, and we need to make sure that we're better explaining to students what money we have for them to work with, because we actually have quite a bit, including the rollover we've had over the past 2 years that has amounted to quite a large sum. And we need to make sure that our students know what they're able to do, and we need to make sure that our money is going to where students want it to go. Likewise, we also need to make sure when it comes to programming that we have a responsive program board putting on programs that you, the students, want. Bringing in concerts, bringing in comedians, bringing in all of those different programs that make up program board that students want here. And likewise, we need to make sure it's transparent so that when we are choosing those things, students are able to know why we're choosing them and how we're choosing them. And when it finally comes to president, I feel like my position can help most with the inner workings and the training of representatives to make sure that the president has a more powerful organization behind them, so that when we deal with issues on the students' behalf, we really represent us.
Mr. Hare?
Thanks for the question, Jenna. This question is about a knowledge base in each position that the president would require. I do have each of those knowledge bases. I want to start off with programming. As my experience on campus is already detailed, I have had experience programming for Interfraternity Council and Pi Kappa Alpha. I know what it means to plan in a good event, to do it in advance, and to have goals set and to reach those goals. I think that I can use that experience in this role. I think it's important that we reevaluate the need for our programming. The student experience here is multivalent, but we need to make sure that the programming benefits your student experience and makes you more happy and you're having a great time at Creighton. That's what we're here at CSU, to work for you, again. With student affairs, I've been a rep for 2 years. I have a very good knowledge of what this is about. I think it's about getting out there and communicating with the representatives and making their time and energy work most efficiently for you. With finance, I've been on the finance committee for 2 years. Through that time, I've seen the budgets come and go, and one thing that I am kind of angry about, honestly, is the fact that we roll over so much money. Why are we wasting money? I don't understand. I think we need to go in there, reevaluate our spending, and make sure that each dollar is working most effectively. We need to make it easier for student organizations to get funding and to go through that process, and we also need to make it more visible. The students need to know what we're spending our money on. With the presidential role, I'll start off by giving an example of how I would best be fit for president.
Thank you, Mr. Hare. Mr. Miskimmons?
Well, I think I read this question a little bit differently, and it's that first, how are we going to build the team? And that's really the president's job, is building a team between the four of us that can work together to serve you, the students, to have a fantastic Creighton Students Union so that we can hear your concerns and do what you, the students, want to see out of CSU. And there's no doubt about it that over the past year that I have seen how each of these roles are played out. We're all in the office every single day, and we all work together. Even though we do have our very specific defined job descriptions, it's about helping each other out and really getting the things done that we need to get done. And so really building a team so that we can all work together. So there's no question about the knowledge base between each executive position, because being in there for a year, the knowledge is there. For programming specifically, I've seen how programming is done for all undergraduates, not just 30% of them. And so it's really taking it to the larger level and getting things done. Vice President of Finance, I chair the Finance Committee, and the matters of funding, I've already started to work on cutting down the funding policies that student organizations have to go through, and really reevaluating where CSU's money is spent.
Rebuttal, Mr. Hare.
I think I just want to touch on a couple of things. Dylan mentioned building the team. In my time as an executive in Interfraternity Council and Pi Kappa Alpha, I've had to do a lot of top-down delegation. I have a lot of jobs that come to my table, and I need to make sure that other people are working on them and that I'm helping them facilitate that. That's what the CSU president is here to do. I've had a lot of experience in that area. I want to go back to what I was going to say earlier about my example. A couple of weeks ago, I live in the Pike House, and a couple of weeks ago we had a crisis outside. One of our students was shot. In response to that, what I did is very telling of how I would serve you as CSU president. I had to meet with administrators at 3:30 in the morning. I had to contact our international fraternity. I had to talk to the police, and I had to keep a clear head about me the entire time. I had to get our entire fraternity together the next day, explain the situation, and work throughout that entire week to make sure that we were improving our safety, that we're making the necessary steps with the administration, and that we're pressuring the administration to continue to make our campus safe.
Thank you, Mr. Hare.